Hi, my name is Kara and we are back to knitting. It has now been about like a week and a half since I moved in and definitely feeling more settled, so I actually found time to knit. So this week I did start like more sweaters than I finished, but I actually just finished another one this morning. And sorry my voice is a little rough, I was kind of yelling a lot last night. It's New York, it's very loud, but it's fun. And another thing is like I can see on my camera that like my walls are just completely blank. Like my only wall decor is like my temperature gauge, so I'm trying to fix that. Again, I'm kind of scared to like add anything to the walls because I'm still in that like, you live in a dorm, don't make any holes in the wall, versus like, you're an adult, you have a lease, like you can just cover it up later. But I'm trying to brainstorm things, like I'm thinking a shelf because that seems nice. Like it's a really nice setup, not to brag, but like I love this armchair and I love just sitting in it and knitting and like watching TV and just like vibing. But yeah, I've just been doing a lot of yarn shopping. I'm now knitting. I have my nightstand and I have a like lamp for it just so I can sit in my bed and knit. It's been really nice. Still a little bit hot, like honestly, like I have to have the fan blowing directly on me when I knit because like if the yarn's on my legs, like it's gonna get really hot. But I figured out the system, it's really nice. And yeah, let me just show you what I've been working on this week. But yeah, like my voice right now is just like, it's kind of rough. And I don't know what to do about it. Like I have to go see somebody for like lunch soon too, so like I'm gonna be doing way more talking then as well, so good luck to me, I guess. Anyways, let me show you the one that I literally just finished like 10 minutes ago. So it is an unnamed like textured sweater, and I was actually told that it kind of looks like crochet, and I really like the texture of this one. It's made with Lamb's Pride bulky yarn. It's like a single ply bulky weight yarn. It's like 100 grams for 125 meters or something. And funny story about this one is that like my roommate saw the yarn label and it's like, it's called Lamb's Pride, and I was like, yeah. And then like it turned out that she thought that in order to get yarn you had to like kill the sheep. And one thing I'll say for her is that like she saw me buying all this yarn, thought that, and like was like, okay, like she just accepted me for it. Like she didn't judge me, she just like knew that I like to knit and encouraged it. But like it was really fun. I was like, no, like you just like shear the sheep, like you don't kill them to get the yarn, like otherwise like I would not have this much yarn. But that's the funny story with that yarn. And I got it at Downtown Yarns, and this wasn't the first project that I ever finished in New York, but like yarn that I bought in New York. It's the second one technically. But I'm proud of myself for going to a yarn store, buying sweater quantities of yarn, and then just actually knitting with it like immediately instead of just like having it sit in my yarn stash for a while. And I'm hoping that this will be more normal for me now because I honestly, like I don't have a ton of space in my apartment to like store as much yarn as I used to do. So I'm hoping that this will be more of like a, you get yarn, you knit a sweater with it immediately, so that way it's not like just sitting around and taking up space. But it is also just like really pretty too. Anyways, so this sweater is top down, but I don't have blocking materials yet. It's coming like tomorrow. And I really want to block this one. One, the yarn is kind of scratchy. So I really want to put like conditioner on it, or like even like fabric softener. I don't think you're supposed to do that. I just want to make it softer in some way. And two, I didn't do a gauge swatch beforehand with this texture or yarn. And so it turned out like a lot tighter than I thought it was. And it's basically like it's a tight sweater, and I didn't necessarily want a tight sweater. Like I wanted something a little bit more billowy. This entire sweater, like it just kind of reminds me of like those like 80s ski sweaters. Like it's very 80s for some reason, or is it 70s? No, I'm pretty sure it's 80s. Like this is what I would imagine like you would wear with like a perm. I really liked it. I did spend like an extra like 40 minutes on it just because you have to decrease and then increase for this texture, and I accidentally increased once more than I needed to. So like I knit a row and then I did another increase, but like doing these decreases and increases, you literally half the stitches and then you double them so that you get back to your original number of stitches. So I accidentally doubled the number of stitches I had, and I was like, ooh, let's just try to do a decrease to see if it looks worse, better, or like you can pass it off. And then you can see like a very distinctive like puff out on one sleeve, like one part of the sleeve. And so I was like, that's very distinct, like we're just gonna have to undo it. And so I spent like an extra like 40 minutes on that when I shouldn't have, and I just like wasn't really paying attention. But you know, now I will in the future. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to make a second one of this one with bigger size needles just to loosen up the texture a little bit and make it more like fit how I want it to. But I am hoping that blocking will help like open up the stitch and just make things a little less dense. But I really do like it, and I mean, like, I finished it in like 2 days. It honestly could have been 1 day, but then like I got distracted yesterday. So here we are. I don't know what to call it, but I'm thinking about it. I literally, like, I don't know what to call it, but I like it. So, and honestly, like, I've been buying a lot more yarn that's, like, way more neutral toned. And it feels weird for me. It does feel strange. Like, I really do like bright colors. Like, I'm literally sitting in a chair that's, like, bright green. But I guess I'm, like, knitting with more neutrals now. Is that, like, growth? Is that just me moving to New York? Or is that just, like, coincidence? Okay, so a whip for you now is this kind of like lace floral stitch sweater, and obviously it's top down. I think like everything I'm knitting right now is either top down or just like seamless, and I'm not mad about it. I don't like seaming things. Will literally do so many things to avoid it. But anyways, this is Machette Shoppe DK in pink. I don't know. It's not catnip. It's one that's kind of similar. It's like more of like a pink and white one versus like a little bit of purple in it. But I'll look it up and put it in the description. And one strand of Moondrake Fiber Company Moffet DK. Moffet. It's like their chunky mohair. It's like an Aran weight mohair, and I just like was like, oh, like I don't really have that much mohair right now in my stash, and I want to hold this DK weight yarn with some mohair to give it more body so you can knit it on 8mm needles. So I did that. But I think the issue is that it's almost too fluffy to the point where you can't really see the texture that well. I mean, another factor is just that like it's on my needles, and so it's kind of bunched up so you can't see the stitch that well. But like I'm also hoping that when you wear it you can see it better, but I'm just not entirely convinced that this one will turn out how I want it to. So that's why I kind of just stopped knitting it. But it was also fun for me because both of these were in hanks, so I had to use my electric skein winder to wind them up. And yeah, that might be a big reason why I ended up knitting with these yarns, just because I was like, ooh, like these two yarns haven't been caked up, like I gotta do it in order to knit with them. So here we are. I'm thinking that I'm going to do like big sleeves for this one too, but I'm going to add cuffs, I think, and like a bottom. But it's coming along. I'm gonna finish it because it's like living in my nightstand and I want that space. But I might also attempt a second one for this one just because I think I made it too fluffy so you can't see the texture. The interesting thing about this is that like I think that the texture would actually look really good if it was just mohair or if it was just the DK, but together they kind of blur each other out. But I do really like the colors. Like it's a lovely pink. And who doesn't need another pink sweater? But I kind of fudged the texture overall. Okay, the next whip that I have for you is familiar because I ended up bringing it with me to New York. Like I had this box of yarn that I shipped to myself, and I was like throwing in yarn, and then I was like throwing in projects too because I was like no time to finish it, but I do want to finish it eventually, so I'm going to bring it with me. And it's a Diamond in the Rough sweater in Sandnes Garn Coast yarn in Jelly Bean Green. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow this morning. I don't know why, I've been up for hours, but like, for some reason all the yarn names, like, I think that maybe it's because like I haven't talked about like projects or yarn in a bit, so like maybe that's why. Anyways, it's Sandnes Garn Coast yarn in Jelly Bean Green, and it's a Diamond in the Rough sweater, and this was supposed to be my second one, and then I kind of just like lost track of things. But I really like the color of this one, and I'm holding the yarn double to give it like a bulky weight, and it's turning out well, I would say. Like I just need to do the cuffs on this sleeve, and then I just need to do another sleeve. So not much knitting left, but I did leave this as it was for a few days. But I'm happy that I picked it up again because I'm really in love with this color. Like I think it's just so pretty, and I think that I'm like really happy with the camera that it can finally pick up like how pretty it is in person. But this one, like it's not much more work. I just haven't done that work yet. But yeah, that project just lives in my nightstand as well because there's like a little cubby at the bottom, and I just shove things into it. And I'm scared that it's gonna become so full that like I can't get things out, but maybe I'll get like a little basket to put in there just to organize things a little bit, but also hopefully I won't have so many whips that I just fill up the nightstand, but I know that I will. So it's kind of like, if I get a basket, I'll just enable myself to like shove more things in it without things falling out. But if I don't get a basket, it'll keep me more accountable. I don't know. And then out of the blue yesterday, I was like, I don't have enough projects. I'm gonna start another one. So I started this other like top-down mohair sweater, but this is on 15mm needles, and it's Loopy Mango Mohair So Soft. And if you're ever curious about how far like a skein of Loopy Mango Mohair So Soft can get you, this is exactly one skein, and it's like the top of the yoke of the sweater. But I just really love this color. I think it's mimosa, and I just love how brilliant yellow it is. I love bright colors, and this yarn is great. What am I talking about? I was just talking about how like I was scared that I was knitting with too many neutrals now, and like I started this project yesterday, so I think I'll be okay. Like I think of myself still. And this has a folded over collar because like I just did that with my Better Day sweater, and I really liked how it turned out, especially with this yarn. So this one's gonna be single toned color, and I'm just gonna like finish it with the yarn that I have, hopefully. What stresses me out about Mohair So Soft is that one, it's really expensive, so it's like $22 per skein, but I have managed to like scheme and get it on sale most of the time, so it's only like $13 a skein. But 60 meters is just a really weird amount of yarn to come in a single skein. And I'm getting used to working with it, but I'm also like constantly stressed that I don't have enough yarn and then I'm gonna have to go buy more. But fortunately for me, there are a bunch of yarn stores like in the city that have Mohair So Soft. I would just be kind of like annoyed if I ran out of yarn. But I'm also kind of like, oh, I have some left over, what do I do with it? Because it's the type of yarn where like you can't just use it for scrap yarn after because it's so expensive and it's so nice. So you just want to use it for more projects, but you know. Anyways, Mohair So Soft. Love it. It is so soft. I'm playing around with like some ideas that I have for this one. Like, I'm gonna keep it secret for now just so I can surprise you later. But this one will whip up in no time. Like, this is like 30 minutes of knitting maybe. Like, it was not much time at all. Like, I was just like, let's knit this up, this entire skein, and then like move on. So this will also go in the nightstand, and hopefully it won't just die in there. Now, this is another sweater that like I am slightly concerned that I am knitting with too many neutrals. But basically I really did just see this really gorgeous neutral oversized sweater at one of the stores in New York, and I was like, I need that sweater. And it was in cashmere, but obviously I'm not gonna buy like that much cashmere for an oversized sweater because it would be so expensive. And the sweater was like $600, which is reasonable because it's cashmere and it was really nice, although it wasn't hand knit. So I was like, I'm gonna knit it for myself. And so I ended up buying this Noro Hannue from Downtown Yarns, and it's really soft. It's softer, I think, than crayon. And again, it's a little bit more neutral than I like, but it's like this really lovely like brown with some speckles in it, so it has a little bit of like character, I guess. Something interesting. And I'm just gonna make like a really nice oversized sweater. And like the issue is like I'm knitting it on 5mm right now, like I'm doing the ribbing. And I want like a big ribbing portion. Like I want like 4 inches of ribbing at the bottom, and like it's just taking forever. Because it's so many stitches, because one, it's oversized, it's on smaller needles, and I just want a lot of ribbing, so I got stuck on the ribbing portion. And I did this in like an hour or so of knitting, but I need to do double this, I think, so I've just been procrastinating on it. So this will also go into the nightstand, hopefully not to die, but the chances are high. But what's fun about this yarn too is that like the skeins are so big, like this is like 400 meters, I think. And so like hopefully I won't have to do the like weaving in and like cleaning up the ends, because the skeins are so big. Like I think I only need 2 skeins of this to make like a giant oversized sweater. Don't take my word for that because I am really bad at estimating, but I think that this one will also be familiar to you guys because I showed you guys when I did my last update, but it's like this unnamed lace cardigan that I'm working on, and ooh, look how pretty it is. I haven't like held it up and like looked at it like this in the day, so like I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And it's in Hip Knit Shop Fluff yarn in Little Miss Sunshine, and this was supposed to be my like on the plane knitting project because I was like, the mohair is just so light, like you can just shove a bunch of it in your bag, it'll be fine. And I ended up not knitting it like at all on the plane because I slept on the plane because my flight was like at 1 a.m. so I was actually tired. And then basically like this has been the project that I was working on for a bit, like my first few days in New York, just because I was like, I haven't knit, this is how I should relax at night, like I'm moving in, things are stressful, but I should still make that time to knit. And I didn't want to start a new project, I wanted to keep on working on something that I've been working on, so this is it. And I think that I'm getting pretty close to finishing the bottom and starting to split for the panels. But yeah, I think this is about like 1 skein and a bit's worth of yarn, so it lasts for a while. And I'm excited to finish this one. I just need to find the time and the motivation to do it. The lace knitting is really fun, but it does take time. Like, it's not as thoughtless as like doing stockinette for me. Because like when I do stockinette, like I can just like watch TV, not think about it. When I do this lace stitch, I do need to pay attention a little bit more, and obviously that means I'm gonna go knit slower. But I'm probably just gonna curse myself when it comes to doing the sleeves because I'm sure by then I'll be pretty fatigued with this knit stitch, so. Okay, and for my final piece today, I'm showing you my first ever knit in New York. So this is the first project I made with yarn that I bought in New York that I knit entirely in New York. I mean, it's literally one of 2 FOs this week, so. And it is this Unnamed top-down sweater in Fleece Artist Slub Mix yarn, and it's in the colorway Artichoke, and I got it from Downtown Yarns, and I really love it. Like, I think that it's so fun. I think slub yarn is just like underrated because like it gives you just like the most beautiful texture. It is difficult to source though. Like, it's hard to find a good slub yarn, and Downtown Yarns is really fun because it has like a lot of like art yarns and like really fun textured yarns. But I'll also say that Downtown Yarns is kind of hard to get to. Like, it was like maybe a 40-30 minute trip for me, but like at least 20 minutes of it were walking because it's not super close to any subway stations. And like I could always Uber there, but like I don't know, like I'm trying to avoid Ubering. Like, I like using the subway system even though I'm very bad at navigating. Yesterday I spent like 10 minutes waiting on a platform and I was like, where's the train? Like, it says on Google Maps that like the train should be here. Like, where is it? Turns out I was standing on the wrong platform for 10 minutes and I wasn't late to dinner, but I was pretty close to being late to dinner. And the only reason I wasn't late to dinner was because we moved the time up to meet earlier. Like, I was supposed to go at 6 and then I ended up leaving at 5, but I didn't get there till 5:30. Just something to get used to. I'm good at navigating roads, not great. I can get my way around LA. New York's gonna take a little bit more thought. But anyways, I added the collar because I wasn't entirely sure if I liked how slub looks with ribbing, so I was like, let's just do no ribbing. And then I was like, it looks kind of strange with no ribbing, like no collar. So then I ended up using Wool in the Gang, Wool in the Gang, Alpachino Merino, and Ivory White as the collar, and I'm not entirely sold that I'm gonna keep it. I don't know if you have an opinion on it, but like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep the collar for this one or if I'm just gonna take it off. But I feel like it needs a collar. And I like the idea of like adding a contrast color just to like make it pop more. And like, it's more fun with the textures. Like, this is like a smooth plied yarn. It's like not slubby. So it looks good as a collar if I do say so myself. But I don't know if it looks good with this sweater. Like, I'm not entirely sure. And like, this one has lived on my chair because like I'm still not sure whether I'm gonna keep the collar or not. But yes, another top down, cropped, big sleeve sweater. Like, I just knit top down sweaters to relax, and moving is very stressful, so maybe that's why I've just been doing a bunch of top down sweaters. But that is everything that I have for you this week. It's not as much as it has been in the past, but hopefully you'll see these same projects next week as I finish them. Who knows? I realized that I started like 3 to 4 different projects in like one day, and I was like, uh-oh, like I'm getting back to the project zoomies. But again, I'm really trying not to do that because I just don't have that much space to store that many whips. So it's not like I have that much more space for like to store finished objects either. But yeah, like I keep on dragging out yarn by like stepping on it from the nightstand. So maybe that's why I should get a basket. But again, like if I get the basket, that means that I can shove more things into it and more whips can just live in my nightstand when I don't want that many whips to live in my nightstand. But I'll figure it out. Like, basically every day, like, I just realized, like, oh, like, I don't have this, I have to go get it. Like, it was only, like, midway through my first, like, textured sweater that I was like, oh, I need a knitting, like, blocking kit. Like, I have to order that, or, like, I have to go find something somewhere because I need that. And the next thing I need to figure out is, like, where I'm going to keep it to dry, because there's not a lot of floor real estate, and I don't know where I'm going to put it so that it can, like, dry out quickly. But yes, thank you so much for sticking with my rambling. It's nice to get back to knitting, I'll say that. It's been like a very distracted week before that where like I was just like feeling like I was running around all the time, like I felt pretty tired, so I couldn't find the time to knit as much as I would like. And now I'm feeling a little bit more settled and feeling like I can knit again. So thank you for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, happy knitting, and see ya.